I'm comfortable. Oh my God! The Sinclair's pulling away!
No, the Sinclair! This is the Citroen Ami, a very small electric car that's very slow, but in its own way very good. And it's very cheap as well. Today, we're going to be putting up against some other tiny electric cars that you can buy right now.
So if you're looking at small EVs like the Ami, then your research might lead you to one of these. It's called the Estrima Biro, and it's made by an Italian company, but it's available to buy here in the UK. And the specs are fairly similar to the Amis. But the interesting thing about the Biro is that you can get a version of this with a removable battery. So if you do, you can very simply unlock the back here, pull this down and just wheel it out. Now it is a bit heavy, but isn't that handy? Because it means that you can just wheel it inside to your house or to your office and charge it up from there, rather than having to trail a cable across your driveway or out your flat window. Now, if you do go for a Biro with a removable battery, the battery itself is around half the size of a Biro with a fixed battery. And that also obviously means that the range is around half as well. So this particular model will do around 35 miles on a full charge. Oh, and it is rather heavy. But if you go from flat to full, then it takes about 4 hours to charge it up, which isn't too bad. And if you have a CBT license, then you can drive one of these on the road.
Now, our third contender should be pretty exciting because it's been inspired by the Aston Vantage GTE racing car. And this is it, the Scooterpac cabin car. Technically, it's a Class 3 mobility scooter, so yes, it is different from the Ami and the Biro, but it's still powered by batteries, and actually it's quite a bit lighter than the other two. It weighs just 178 kilos. That's a good thing because the electric motor that drives the rear wheels has a solitary brake horsepower. Top speed, in standard form at least, is 8 miles an hour, but in the same way, some high-performance cars can have their limiter removed so they can achieve their top speed on a long, straight piece of road. This has been de-restricted, so it should be slightly faster. It costs about the same as the Biro, and it has a range of 22 miles, but in some ways, it has an advantage over the other two because it's smaller, so it should be even easier to drive in town. And if there's traffic, you can just pop this thing up on the pavement. It's also the only one with a holder for your walking stick.
Now, because it's pretty clear the Scooterpac cabin car is going to be quite a bit slower than the Ami and the Biro, we're running a Sinclair C5 in this race as well to spice things up at the back of the grid. If you want to find out more about the Sinclair, click on the link at the top of the screen to see it in another drag race.
Okay guys, so no engines to rev. Let's start with the obligatory horn off.
That is so loud. I must win that. That must be the loudest. Handbrake off. God, oh my God, we're going. Go, right, so I've got to beat the Ami now. I'm comfortable. Oh my God! The Sinclair's pulling away!
No, the Sinclair!
The Amis! Wait, what's going on? Well, I haven't pressed the boost button yet. Boost. Okay, boost, boost, boost. Come on, come on!
Even the Sinclair is leaving me for dust.
How fast am I going? Almost 30, almost 30.
I don't really know what I can do here other than cycle or run.
Boosh. Okay, easy victory for the Ami. Look at that, the winner.
After the start, when he got away, he hasn't actually pulled out much of a distance, but okay, so pretty clear that the C5 is faster than this if someone is pedalling as well as using the electric motor. But what about if there's no pedalling allowed? Because I think that would be fairer.
God. Go, right, boost off the line. Boost, much better start, much better start. I'm just holding this button down. I don't think you're supposed to.
Come on, come on! Come on! He's getting away!
Oh, but the Ami's still getting away. No, come on, come on. Ah.
Look at that. It's close. It's really close. The Sinclair.
27 miles an hour. I think that's it. I think that's it. The Ami's going to take it again. Press the boost. no, nothing's really happening. Another convincing win for the Ami, unfortunately.
But remember, quarter of a mile in a mobility scooter is a long, long way. Without the pedalling, we might have this in the bag. The other guys have finished, they're all lined up again. The Aston Martin cabin car is going to do it. It's going to beat a 1985 Sinclair C5. What an achievement that is. And we've crossed the line, and I've not lost, which is great.
Okay, so for those who want a detailed breakdown of the numbers, let's go back to that first very slow drag race, which started off quickly for the Citroen Ami, going from 0 to 5 miles an hour in just 0.6 seconds, which was way ahead of everything else. The Biro was actually behind the Sinclair C5 off the line, with both comfortably seeing off the Scooterpac cabin car. The Ami then hit 10 miles an hour almost 1 second quicker than the Biro, which by that point was still very close with the Sinclair C5, but just ahead. And it wasn't long before the cabin car was really quite far behind the rest, which, given it's a mobility scooter and it hit a top speed of 11 miles an hour, was not a great surprise. The Sinclair C5 recorded a top speed of 17 miles an hour and reached the halfway point of the race in 31.2 seconds. After its slow start, the Biro's top speed of 26 miles an hour helped it eventually stretch way ahead of the Sinclair, and it made it to halfway 10 seconds ahead of the electric tricycle. But it couldn't close the gap, with the mighty 28 mile an hour Ami crossing our quarter-mile finish line in 35.5 seconds, with the Biro behind it in 38.4 seconds. And then there was a bit of a gap. The Sinclair C5 was a comfortable third in 68.5 seconds, and the Aston was almost 20 seconds slower, crossing the line in 87.8 seconds. Okay, so what are these things actually like to drive? Well, we'll start with the Biro. Now this is the Estrima Biro Winter Classic. And the thing that makes it the winter version is the fact that it's got doors. So you can actually, obviously open them, but you can remove them as well, which is apparently very easy to do, just like it is taking the battery out of the car. It does, though, make this pretty much like a greenhouse on wheels. It's cold outside, it's very, very windy, but it is roasting in here. But what you can do is open this sunroof with this not dangerous at all contraption up there, and you can close it. Again, looks like there's quite a lot of potential to trap your fingers in that, to be honest. That's not the only problem up here, because this thing looks pretty nasty as well, and if you crash or if you brake quite abruptly, then your forehead is just going to go directly into this. The driving position isn't great in the Biro either, so the wheel feels very far away from these seats, which you can't move, but the pedals are the worst bit because they're really high and very close to the seat, so you've got to have your foot and leg at a really awkward angle to actually be able to use them. Now, in terms of ride, okay, we're on a runway. There's not a huge amount we can say, really, but it doesn't feel particularly uncomfortable. It doesn't crash and thump over everything. It also doesn't feel like it's going to topple over any time you turn the steering wheel, which is good. But if you think that this costs more than what the Ami does, it's hard to put a case forward for going for the Biro. But you can't take the battery out of the Ami.
Now, in some ways, it's slightly unfair to compare this to the Biro and the Ami because it's not a car, it's not even a quadricycle, it is a mobility scooter. But I think the best way to describe the way this car drives is interesting. So there's no steering wheel, there is this handlebar type arrangement that you'd find on a motorbike, or very similar to that anyway. And on the plus side, the handling is good in terms of manoeuvrability. So I need about 2 meters to do a U-turn. So that is really impressive. The drawback is it doesn't feel particularly stable. It's very narrow, remember, and I wouldn't want to apply full lock when I'm going flat out, even though that flat out is 8 miles an hour in the standard car, about 10 or 11 in this slightly modified version. Now, in the UK at least, you can only drive this thing at 4 miles an hour on the pavement, and that's very easy to achieve because you switch to low power mode and you turn down the power dial slightly, and then the speed is capped at 4, so you don't have to worry about accidentally going too quickly. And then if you want to get out onto the open road, clearly not on motorway or an A road or anything like that, but in town, you can switch to high power mode and then you can have maximum power. Now this car is very narrow, and that works in its favour when you're trying to squeeze through tight gaps, and go on a pavement, but it does make it feel quite claustrophobic in here, and obviously you can't carry a passenger, there's only one seat, and that seat is actually quite wobbly, it's moving around a bit. Now if you want to slow down, because this car has relatively low top speed, all you do is lift off the accelerator and it comes to quite a sudden stop. But if you really need to stop quickly, if someone were to walk out in front of you or something, you can do that, plus pressing a brake lever here, and then that slows down the car even more quickly. Now, given that this is a mobility scooter, it does actually come with a surprising amount of creature comforts. So you have electric windows, look at that. You also have a windscreen washer and a wiper, if you switch that on there, to clean it as well. On top of that, there are heated seats, or a heated seat at least, and this particular car has a flashing beacon on the roof to warn people of its presence. There is also a cup holder down here as well. It's a shame there's no other storage though, because if you want to carry anything else, you either need to put it on a small box that is attached to this car's rear end, or you need to throw it on the floor between your feet. The ride is pretty bumpy, it's quite noisy as well. You can probably hear the car being shaken to pieces. We are on quite a poorly surfaced runway at the moment. If you're on a pavement or on a smooth road, then it's not going to be such a problem at all, really. So overall, it really depends what you're comparing this to. If you're comparing this to any car or even a quadricycle like the Ami, then it's very, very bad. But if you're comparing it to the average mobility scooter, then it's pretty much a Rolls Royce.
So here we are again with a selection of quirky small electric cars, and it's the Citroen Ami that is comfortably the most recommendable. It certainly has its drawbacks, but will any form of small and cheap electric transportation ever be able to beat it? And which small EVs should we put it up against next? Tell us in the comments below. For more videos like this and to see lots of other new car reviews, make sure you subscribe to our channel and go to whatcar.com to get a great deal on your next car.